So if you could be any like classic horror movie creature or villain or whatever, which one would you be?
Oh man, the fucking Wolfman.
The Wolfman?
The Wolfman.
Mr. Wolfman?
Mr. Wolfman. I would definitely be the fucking Wolfman, because I mean, just look, you're gonna be all furry and like, you know, have like claws and teeth, and you're gonna like howl at the moon. And
You just have
like
body hair envy.
maybe. And then, you know, you would gain 350 pounds of muscle and a throbbing werewolf cock.
Yeah!
So I mean, like, yeah. And then of course, you know, there is Vlad Tepes Dracula.
Yes.
But, you know, he's everybody's go-to. Everybody loves vampires. Everybody wants to be a vampire. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all saw the debacle that was True Blood, remember? Suki.
Yeah.
Okay, I hate to admit this, but I thought the first 4 seasons were pretty good.
I thought they were pretty good too. Okay, the first season I was kind of on the fence because like I could tell it was kind of cheesy.
Oh, it was very cheesy.
But then like the next like 2 or 3 seasons after that were really fucking good. But then that last season was just like,
God.
Okay, not only are we like layering on the cheesy factor, but it's like the story doesn't even make sense anymore. And like,
I know. Were tigers or whatever. Were panthers, is that what it was?
trailer trash were-panthers. Okay, I guess.
The accents are the thing that got me the most, where it was just like, I'm Vampire Bill. And I hear the water in Arkansas.
I was a Confederate
very
soldier,
hard.
and we're not going to examine that at all.
No, hands down, best fucking character is Lafayette.
Oh, fuck yes.
Best fucking character.
Oh my
I
God.
love Lafayette.
People who've never seen the fucking True Blood will not know what we're talking about, but people who have. But as far as vampire stories go, I think really Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles would have made a much better series.
Yeah.
There's been
they
a couple
actually
of
made
movies,
they
but-
made an interview with the vampire series that like just came out like 2 weeks ago.
Are you fucking
Yeah.
serious?
Like we haven't watched it
Are
yet,
you
but
fucking serious?
yeah.
Oh my God.
I think there's like 2 or 3 episodes now.
I was such a fucking Anne Rice goth when I was younger. We have to watch that now.
Oh my God. My favorite vampire shit, fucking 30 Days of Night.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're like monsters or like beasts
was
or
a
something.
good one.
I love their like language and like, you know, how smart and crafty they were. Like they were the scariest fuck. I don't know. I don't think anything could ever beat the Lost Boys though.
Oh, fuck yeah. That was the best vampire. That is still to this day the best fucking vampire movie
All right, because
that's
you got
ever been
Kiefer
made.
Sutherland and then fucking Bill S. Preston Esquire. You know, Alex. He's not Alex Winter. He's Bill S. Preston Esquire forever.
Yeah,
But
forever and ever, even in vampire form.
it was fucking awesome because he got that curly ass mullet and then that fucking jacket. That fuck. Whenever I was a little kid, I wanted a jacket like that. Even my battle vest I have now has nothing on Bill S. Preston Esquire's vampire jacket.
See, now that's something they should have made a series out of.
Oh, the comic book.
The comic book's good, yes, but an actual, like, series?
Yeah, I would watch the fuck out of that.
They probably couldn't do Kiefer Sutherland as David anymore, but...
They could probably bring back the sexy sax guy.
Oh my God, they could bring back
What's
the
his
sexy
name? Is it
sex
Tim
guy.
Capello? Is that
Some
his name?
shit, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he was on fucking Reservation Dogs too at the end, which leads me to believe that Reservation Dogs and the Lost Boys take place in the exact same fucking universe.
Shit, I fucking believe it.
It'd be funny while they're still stuck out in California, they like ended up finding vampires. You know, you can see Willie
my
Jack.
God.
It's like, oh, go away, fuck.
Give me that fucking steak.
Okay, yeah, I would watch that crossover.
Fuck yeah.
Make it happen, Sterling Harjo.
Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx. Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx. Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx. Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx.
My name is Matt, and I'm Batman.
And my name is Sabrina, and I'm also Batman.
And this is Sumo Punx. I am the night.
I'm not nearly as good at that as you are.
You know, sometimes you kind of get stuck when you're just talking like Batman. And then you just want to get into somebody's face and scrunch up your face and look them right in the eyes and say, I'm Batman. Sometimes you just kind of get stuck in a rut and you don't know what else to do except look people in the eye, real uncomfortable, and just say, I'm Batman. Especially at the Whole Foods.
Face looks so weird when you do that.
But that's not Matt. That's Batman. I'll stop being Batman.
Okay, well, welcome to our newest episode of the podcast.
Yeah, we're doing that thing where we're being punks and talking about sumo.
Yeah, what is it called again? I think it's
Sumo Punx?
Sumo Pantaloons? I don't know. Well, if you like our Sumo Pantaloons, you can definitely give us a 5-star rating on whatever podcast platform you're currently listening to.
Yeah, think of it as vandalism. You're vandalizing their rating system by giving us like a 5-point system. It's like spray painting.
Tagging the rating system. You're letting everybody know how cool this podcast is by putting your mark on it.
Spray painting the walls.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to say that. Never mind. Anyway, we got to sit down with Mr. Kyle Ferriter, the Sumo Nomad, and get to know him a little better. He's been at a few of the local Texas tournaments and just kind of seems like he's a fucking great guy. He's given you unsolicited tips, which have really helped you out.
Hell yeah.
Just out of the blue. He's very dedicated to, making everybody's sumo experience awesome.
And he's someone that I have a whole lot in common with when it comes to like forms of wrestling and grappling. He really likes a lot of those like really weird, obscure, like folk wrestling styles, from all over the world, and had actually come back from Turkey after competing in the World Nomad Games, which was really fucking badass. And he's going to tell us a little bit about that.
But first, let's go ahead and give a rundown of the upcoming events. I know everybody's excited about some of these. We got some all over the U.S. Go ahead and give us the first one.
Well, the first one is not in the U.S. It's actually...
Well, true.
It's November 5th in Switzerland, the Swiss Sumo Open International Tournament, organized by Mr. Richard Neal, who we spoke with in our previous episode.
That was our last episode.
Yeah, and there's going to be some folks from the U.S. that are going to be braving the airway. Is it the airways? They're going to be braving the airways to go to the...
They're going to go on the airplane.
Yeah, they're going to go to Switzerland. And I heard it's like, there's like chocolate stuff there, I think, if I remember correctly.
Swiss chocolates?
Yeah.
At the tournament itself?
Well, no, in the city where the tournament is held is where there is lots of chocolate.
Man, they should have like a chocolate dohyo. Wouldn't that be fucking cool?
Chocolate.
I don't know. I think it probably wouldn't last long enough for people to battle atop it. It would. I'd just start eating it. Fuck.
All right. Also happening in the U.S. November 5th and 6th is the Fort Worth Fall Festival at the Fort Worth Botanical Gardens. Yeah. Dallas Sumo Club will be hanging out and doing sumo stuff all day and then doing a demo on the main stage at 3 p.m. As of today, I still don't know if it's going to be on the 5th or the 6th or both, but I will keep you updated as I find out.
Then on November 12th is the one that we've been anxiously awaiting ourselves. It's the Houston Sumo Open, hosted by Shogeki Sumo Club. That has actually now moved venues, so it's still going to be part of the Tokyo Night Festival, but the new location is going to be at the Texas Festival Grounds there in Houston. I think you said it was near
Pearland. Yeah, 6848 Alameda Genoa Road in Houston.
So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a festival celebrating Tokyo and nights.
And festivals.
And also a sumo tournament.
Yeah. It's all open weight.
Then
Cash prize.
Yes. Then at the beginning of December 3rd, in fact, is the Ronin Sumo Tournament hosted by Ronin Sumo Bea at the gym. That's the actual name of the place, the gym, in Defuniak Springs. Is it Defuniak?
Defuniak.
Defuniak.
I'm going to say
Defuniak Springs in Florida.
I wonder how hard Brandon's gonna laugh when he hears us struggle.
Oh God, I'm sure we're gonna get made fun of for this. Defuniak.
He'll let us know.
But there's going to be a youth division.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's what I'm excited about for that one.
That's going to be way cool.
I mean, just recently there's been like an uptick in like how much youth sumo is happening in the U.S. There's the whole thing going out in Tennessee now where they have like a whole high school sumo club. Dude, I'm super excited for
That
this
was really
shit.
cool to see. It was Dylan Biggs from Ohio Sumo and, Mr. Tennessee Sumo himself. Nate Hudson, I believe his last name.
Nate.
I think it's Nathaniel Hudson. Nate
We'll just
Hudson.
call him Nate
He's
until we
Nate.
figure out what his last name is.
Hi, Nate. I think it's Hudson. But it was his high school. It was at Antioch High School in Nashville. And what are they? Iron Mountain Sumo Club?
Iron Mountain.
Iron Mountain Sumo Club made the trip. I think she said it was a couple hours away, but she got her son into sumo at the Beer City Sumo opening.
Oh,
Grand
are you
Rapids.
talking about Zombie Mommy?
Zombie Mommy?
Yeah.
So she took her boy up there, and then he got indoctrinated into the sumo ways by Mr. Darius himself. That was cool. I mean, that's a big dude to start, wrestling. So they had a little kind of training session, demonstration kind of thing at Antioch High School, and they made the trip. And it's just really cool to see more kids getting involved in sumo. They're going to carry that torch.
Apparently Jake from Grand Sumo Breakdown has started a sumo club there in Iowa as well, but I'm not even sure what the name of it is, so we'll have to get back to you on
Tell
that
us,
one.
Jake.
But in a little bit more frustrating news, Rick and Bubba from the Dallas Sumo Club had somebody break into their car and steal their mawashis
Balls.
this past week.
They had their mawashis in backpacks. Rick's wallet got stolen and some other shit got stolen. They just rifled through. But, they saw, oh shit, backpacks, there's probably something valuable in there. Well, yeah, there was, but probably not something valuable to them. And then there is the tournament coming up here pretty soon in Houston on November 12th that they're signed up for.
And they're going to need mawashis for that.
So we are going to put Rick's Cash App information on our social media. So if you can, please donate so we could try and get those mawashis replaced. They're not necessarily the cheapest garments in the world, but they are necessary for the practice of sumo. And they're really good guys. They're really fucking awesome dudes, and it's shitty that something like this had to happen to them. So,
That Houston tournament is coming up in like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Approximately. So they're going to need mawashis for that. I'd hate to see them have to skip the
Or
tournament.
no, well, they
just
probably wouldn't have to
because-
skip the tournament, but they would probably have to just use the loner white mawashis.
And nobody wants to do that. Because how many different people's ball sweat does it have?
We're gonna make sure they're going to be able to compete, but it would be better if we could be, in our team colors. I mean, it kind of gives us that teamwork kind of feel, but
Exactly.
whatever.
All right. Well, that's all the new news. Let's go ahead and get into this interview with Kyle Ferriter. Hey, look at who we got here. It's Kyle Ferriter, the ferret guy. I don't know. I like your last name because it reminds me of ferrets. I don't know what to say.
I thought it sounded more like kind of like blacksmithing, like someone who works with ferrous materials, a ferreter.
But I thought a ferreter was somebody who used ferrets to hunt for, like, I don't know, what do ferrets hunt for? Kyle, do you
Honestly,
know?
I have no idea. I just go by Sumo Nomad. Yeah, no one ever asked me what my last name meant, so I just never bothered to learn.
Kyle Ferriter, the sumo nomad himself. How you doing today, Kyle?
I am doing fantastic. How about you guys?
I had to work.
Yeah.
I'm very tired.
Speaking of nomads, what is with
Speaking of
these
nomads.
these nomad games, the World Nomad Games you went to?
That's very intriguing. Is it just a bunch of people from like all around the world that just like show up in one place every now and then?
So
And then fight each other?
the Nomad Games it's a really cool event. It's basically the Olympics for traditional sports is kind of the best way I could put it. So you've got horseback archery. There's this really cool sport called kokbudu where they'll actually have basically a dead goat skin and play polo with it. And I went there as a wrestler along with Roy Sims, one of the other sumo guys. I did Abagadesh and Shalvar, which are just very interesting styles that I have never competed in before. And he actually did Turkish oil wrestling, which is
Oh,
just
nice.
Nice.
way different from anything we've ever seen. And you'll see a lot of videos online of, oh, it's this weird thing where they're like covering each other in oil and like sticking their hand down the pants. But it's like, if you actually see it live, it is the most brutal thing that you can imagine. It's so much fun.
I've seen videos.
Yeah.
That shit does look fucking
I
brutal.
mean, not just the hands and the pants slathered in oil stuff, but I mean like the more like brutal ones where it's just like, first being that slathered in oil and being that lubricated.
I bet it's exhausting.
I know, right? Trying to get just a good grip. That takes a lot of
Yeah.
strength to hold someone but stop them from slipping out.
Oh, it does. Here's the thing about it. It is a 30-minute match.
Whoa.
It is exhausting. Roy actually drew the 7-time world champion in the first round, and it's single elimination out there. So his match didn't last quite 30 minutes, but it was a fun match to watch, man. It was great.
Hell yeah. It's just kind of funny, you come from the world of sumo where, it's good manners to towel off, and just kind of be dry and give someone a fair shake, at a bout. But then
Don't be sweaty.
Yeah, you're just turning up the fucking the wild factor, with this oil wrestling, And then you have to wear those like leather pants. I mean, those things have to be like heavy and stiff, right?
Oh, they are very heavy. They're not required to be leather. Some of them are like cloth, but it's just like, that is a fully legal grip. You can use grab on top and grab on the bottom and just use that to throw someone over, because the way that you win the match is if you expose your back for any amount of time.
Oh.
If you go the 30 minutes without either one of you exposing your back, then they'll go to what's called a golden point or something. I didn't quite catch. I don't speak Turkish, so I was just kind of guessing on what they were saying. It's basically back down to freestyle and folk style rules where first takedown takes it. So one of the matches, we watched the finals of it, and it was this. It's actually really cool. You're in the middle of this giant grass field. People are gathered around. There's probably 1,000 people sitting there watching it. And they've got a live traditional band playing drums and playing the trumpet and all that sitting right there. And these guys are going, and they're just both dog tired, just clearly wanting out of there. And eventually the guy that Roy had ended up facing in the first round takes the whole thing, but it was a long time for him.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've seen Roy Sims, a few videos of the Open, in LA, and I've seen him like that was whenever he was like beastly, he was like way huge, because it looks like he's got like a little bit more lean and lithe these days,
Yeah, he's probably like 70-80 pounds down. He's down into the twos.
Yeah, I just remember like, I mean, he's still like, built, and you could still see like his musculature. He's just not as bulky. So
For the ones that you were doing, though, the specific styles of wrestling that you said that you were doing, what were those called again?
So I did 2 styles of Abagadesh. I cannot pronounce the first word to save my life. I could spell them because I've got it saved like Kadesh Metal and Abagadesh. I don't know. Which they basically give you these weird jackets that are not like it's almost like a sleeveless gi jacket. It's in one style, it is first to 3 points, and a point is anytime you expose your back, and it's like a 6-minute match. I ended up drawing a freestyle world champion from Turkey, so like Olympic level athlete in the first round. I took him down once, he took me down twice, so I ended up losing that. Again, it's all single elimination. Second style I did, which was like a bish. I don't know what, I cannot pronounce these words.
It was just a bish. We could just call
it was a
that.
bish, yeah. But the second style of Abagadesh, I ended up drawing an Azerbaijani that was just phenomenal. I went for a hard snap down, put my head behind his neck, and he just went and ripped an arm spin. I ended up on my back before I knew what was happening.
Oh, shit.
Third style, I just didn't quite understand the rules. They kept saying, "Oh, it's just like freestyle. It's just like freestyle." Which I wrestled freestyle. I coach freestyle now, so I was ready to go in and do leg laces and headlocks and stuff like that, and take him down first time, no problem. Start wrapping up a leg lace. My coach is yelling, "No, no, no, no!" And I'm like, "What does that mean?" And so end up going for another throw on him, hit my back while I'm rolling him, and ended up losing that match because it's first to touch your back, it's not freestyle rules. But whatever.
Man. Well, at least now you know for next time.
Yeah, next time I'll be ready. And then that was actually kind of fun because that was just with how messed up flights got and everything. Basically, I had 30 hours travel time there and 30 hours back. And then I was back for 2 days and went off to New Jersey to compete in the Mr. America for sumo. So it's been a brutal couple weeks, but we're just having a good time out here.
So like whenever you were doing the that jacket style, you know, because with sumo you got the mawashi, it's like a belt style. How did it feel like doing more like jacket wrestling? Did it feel more like judo or jujitsu, or was it kind of like a completely different animal?
It was kind of similar to judo, but it was really just very difficult to understand exactly what's happening because again, it's all on grass. It's not on a real mat and it's not on like a manicured surface. But I mean, I do judo, I do jujitsu. I just had a jujitsu tournament today, actually.
Oh, hell yeah.
But just having the grips that they're training their whole lives to have, and then you walk into some American that's never even heard of this sport until the day that you signed up. You end up in some weird situations.
So how did you hear about the World Nomad Games and get invited to that?
So in 2019, I won the belt wrestling national championships in the U.S.,
Oh,
which is the only one that's recognized by UWW, the wrestling governing body. It's kind of like the IFS for sumo.
yeah.
So I go in there, I win that. I actually faced the guy that got fifth at Worlds the year before. They didn't have Worlds that year. COVID happened, so it was gone for 2 years. So technically, I'm the last one to win it, even though it was 3 years ago. So which puts me as the top belt wrestler if there's any sort of world championship, this, that, or the other. And
We'll
World
let
Nomad
everyone
Games,
know you're still at the top.
yeah. So World Championships, or it puts me at the top for World Championships, and like, yeah, and technically Nomad Games was supposed to be the World Championship for belt wrestling, and I couldn't figure out how to sign up for it, so I just signed up for the sports I could.
Oh, all right. Did you see any of the belt wrestling like while you were there? Did they end up doing it or?
I did get to watch a little bit of the Alish, watch some of the Iranian team compete, and they were just doing it beautifully, just everything, beautiful throws. And keep in mind, major language barrier, but some of the nicest people I got to meet were just go over and almost just laughing at how little we understand of each other. But
So you said that there was folks from Iran. Then you said, you said that was
Azerbaijani.
there's over 100 countries that compete at this.
Oh, hell yeah.
Pretty much everything in the Middle East and Asia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, China, were all there. The country I was saying was Azerbaijan.
Yeah, I can't talk.
But yeah, it's over 3,000 athletes, 100 different countries there. So it's just, like I said, it's like the Olympics for non-Olympic traditional sports.
Nice. How was the food?
Oh man, yes.
Not a great subject, man. My stomach's still messed up.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
It's actually kind of funny. You go into the hotel, and my guide or my coach was sitting there. He's like, every hotel in Turkey has free breakfast. So I was really excited. I was like, okay, so I'll get some eggs or something before I compete. And I walked downstairs, and there is nothing in this room except for trays with one hard-boiled egg, a bowl of olives, and some bread, and then some spreads. and I was just like, oh, okay, so where's the food? And he's just like, no, you've got to make sure you get enough of this. It's delicious. And I'm just like, no, it isn't. Last couple of days I spent in Istanbul though, and actually got to explore the street food out there where they've got all the kebabs and this, that, the other. Amazing food up there. Just
nice.
In the actual competition area, it was okay. It just wasn't fantastic.
Yeah.
So do they have like vendors, or was it just kind of like camps, just kind of had their own food, or like?
At the games, they almost treat it like a cultural festival.
Oh,
so there's like it's almost like outside of the competition area, or between the competition areas, actually, there's these yurts that have different goods for sale, whether it's food, pottery, tapestry, whatever. So it's everywhere out there.
Wow.
And you can just walk across the street, and they've got these Turkey has really great fresh fruit. So everywhere you go, there's just this pile of fruit that's picked that morning, and it's just delicious. And then
awesome.
Obviously they're big on kebab out there, so can't go anywhere without getting that.
That's really cool. So besides like the wrestling sports, I know you had mentioned like horseback archery and stuff. What other kind of stuff do they have there?
So the wrestling is actually the biggest thing that they do there. It's there's like 20 or 30 different styles that are competed at there. So then there's a lot of different horseback sports. Nothing that we would really recognize in the U.S. There's no rodeo and there's no dressage, but just a lot of horseback archery, horse racing. I was pretty much focused on the wrestling stuff, so I didn't have time to explore
I
too
was
much.
just curious.
Did they have Mongolian wrestling?
Oh yeah.
They didn't. They had a demonstration for it, and I asked the guy if I could go out there and try to face him in it. And the guy, they've got these, you know, the jackets that they wear for that, where it's this like really thin material. And he's like, "You'll tear it." It's like, okay. Yeah, both Roy and I really wanted to compete in that, but they were just having a demonstration and inviting people out, and wouldn't allow me out there. I would love to compete in Bach though. One day, one of my things that I really want to do in life is just go to Mongolia and compete in that championship.
Oh,
it looks like so much fun.
That whole festival where they all get together and they have like the dances, they have archery on horseback. I can't remember what that festival was called, but I just saw a documentary on it and I just always wanted to go. It just looked like way cool.
So it sounds like wrestling is something that you're super passionate about, and you had mentioned that you do some teaching other people and stuff like that. When did you first get started? How did Kyle Ferriter become a wrestling guy?
Back in my senior year of high school, we ended up losing out in the state finals in football. And I didn't do what I wanted to that year. And I was just like, I'm not going to college for football. I need to find something to do just to enjoy this. My buddies, Taylor Clifton and Kamal Bay and Casey Allen, just told me, hey, you're going to come out to the wrestling team. They didn't really ask me. They told me. So ended up having my first practice in December of my senior year of high school. Practice for about a month before getting the starting spot, go to a tournament out in Kansas, and what a college coach comes up and asks if I'm going to college for wrestling yet, recruits me on the spot down to where I ended up wrestling in College Otero. Wrestled there for a year before I tore out my shoulder. But once you wrestled in college, there's just that level that people just kind of respect. So you're able to walk into a lot of gyms and say, I wrestled in college. I want to learn this. I want to learn that. And ended up from there getting into an MMA gym where my current coach, Gabe Boperthy, was teaching the wrestling class. And he had this little 8th or 9th grader at the time named Matthew Moore, who just got 3rd at Fargo this year. He's a beast. And this kid was in 8th grade. I was a college wrestler, and he threw me like 5 times in a minute.
Whoa.
And I weighed 360 pounds at this point because I had torn my shoulder out and hadn't wrestled in the year. So got in with them and ended up, they're now some of my closest friends. I wrestle with them 3 nights a week. I'm now a coach at that club. And Gabe was really into the belt wrestling and the traditional styles. He was the traditional style athlete of the year for 2 years straight, 2018 and 2019. So I ended up basically taking over that from him as my coach, because he's right at that age. He's getting ready to stop or slow down on the wrestling, not stop. I don't think he has the ability to quit on that. And just from there, my goal is to, or I'm basically got past the torch that, hey, you're doing the traditional styles now. And I love competing. I've done 7 brackets in the last month for different sports. So
Wow.
it's what I enjoy doing on my weekends and free time, you know?
Hell yeah.
That's really fucking cool.
So like what made you, how did you get introduced to sumo and become like the only sumo wrestler in Colorado?
So there's 2 stories. I'm going to tell you the fake one first because I think it's funny. When I was
fake news. Go ahead.
When I was a little kid, I saw Americus Abasamis on The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody doing sumo wrestling. And that was my very first introduction to sumo. That part's true. So I sat there and thought I could do that. No, that's not real. I ended up actually facing him in my second ever tournament, the Consulates Cup, back in 2020. So it was weird. I got to face the person that got me into sumo. The real reason I started doing it, though, was I saw the US Open on YouTube. It just popped up because I'm in tons of different wrestling groups. Yeah. And I saw it and I was just like, I think I could do this. They ended up canceling it that year because it was 2020. So I signed up for the next tournament that was within earshot, basically, which happened to be FitCon in Utah. Which was the most miserable tournament of my life, and I will stick to that.
I heard about that.
A lot of people said that.
For those of you who don't know that are listening, it was 100 and something degrees, but we didn't have any sort of covering above us, so it was just the sun beating down in Utah. It got the mat so hot that Roy Sims ripped the bottom of his feet off because he came off so powerfully, and it was like stuck to the mat. So we ended up cleaning that up.
Oh God!
Long story short, though, I end up making it to the finals in heavyweight, facing Robert Funamo, and he just picked me up. I'd never been picked up like that in my life. And then I won the open weight and got second in the team competition, and technically won the rookie division, but it didn't really count for anything. So,
so how'd that compare to like the Cowboy Cup? because that was a pretty hot one.
We at
too.
least had that tent thing over us.
I was thanking God we had the tent thing. I
I know.
there were,
Like
I think,
107 degrees out that day.
there were like 3 of us that had wrestled at FitCon when we didn't have that sun tent, and we were all just sitting there, like maybe more than that, but like I know Caleb Backus and Justin Kizzer were there, and we were all just like, "Man, you guys remember FitCon?" Yeah. Obviously, I live in Colorado, so I don't like the hot weather. So when we had that 107-degree day for the Cowboy Cup, I was dying miserable. And it's funny, if you watch the video back, you see me laying down, like drinking water, covered in water.
It's funny how many people were just laying down, just drenched in sweat and bottles of water.
Yeah, you got to conserve energy, man.
Totally.
Yeah, well, speaking of, all the wonderful tournaments that we have here in the U.S., I'm sure Mr. America was indoors, right? It wasn't hot and sweaty, and your skin
Correct.
wasn't peeling off of your feet. So,
It was very similar to the FitCon in Utah this year that Kelly Knighting put on for nationals. It was almost like a big fitness expo where we're all inside and they lay down an actual mat. Let's get down. Sorry, I told you the dog was going to come in.
no, I've already heard the dog a couple of times. It's okay.
I'm trying to like keep him away from the camera and everything. But anyway,
He wants to be a star.
yeah, it's actually a really fun tournament because every time we go to the fitness expos, these people come up and they just love watching sumo. We actually got the Filipino stick fighting was right after us, and those guys, I didn't ever realize what it was. It was basically just MMA with a 2x4, like they were hitting the hell out of each other, choking each other, like it was brutal. And anyway, the Mr. America, or technically the Sumo Dan's All-American Sumo Classic.
That's what,
Yeah, it was very fun tournament. His goal was to have 16 of the top wrestlers in the country show up and compete. So it was an invite-only tournament. Ended up having some issues with some of the travelers, like the Delatoris couldn't make it out, Jose couldn't make it out. So ended up almost pivoting into a smaller tournament that was more for demo and show. Andrew Roden ended up winning it. Edoba, he actually beat me on the consolations by doing the leg pick. We faced each other twice that day. I took him down to the consolations. Andrew Roden took me down to the consolations, and then Edoba took me out. So,
but I noticed that the guys from the New York Sumo Club showed up. Were they able to actually like enter like the tournament itself, or were they just getting some bouts in? Or
they were able to enter the tournament, and the heavyweight actually did a pretty good job. Ended up winning against a couple of the high-level lighter guys. So I was pretty happy to see them there, and obviously it's within earshot of them, so they could just drive down. And we were, because we had so many vacancies, we were just trying to get a few more people in, so we got them both to compete.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I hope they had a good time. It's hard for them to get a good tournament in because there's not much in that Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like the reason I go to so many tournaments specifically is because Texas is so close to me that it's like a 10-hour drive. So I'll just drive down there on a Friday night and compete on Saturday.
Well, we're always happy to have you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I love competing down there. Even sometimes when it's not a real tournament, like the Roller Town where I met you guys for the first time wasn't even a tournament. It was just like I kind of want to go to Texas.
That was cool. It was cool that we ended up picking up, the Garzas, and then
Rick and Bubba.
Yeah, just that whole thing was just badass. That was like my actual first demo, that I had ever done. So.
Yeah, the first time you had ever done sumo in public.
Yeah.
So I know that there was a little bit of controversy at that tournament with Sumo Dan because he made a statement about panties.
And I know that I am a panty wearer.
Yeah, so it's dudes, or I guess mostly, dudes who wear shorts under their mawashi. He is not in favor of that. Some people, they just are more comfortable that way. You usually wear something under your mawashi, but you didn't for that tournament, right?
So it was actually a requirement to compete in that tournament that you go traditional. I do not like going traditional. I never have. It's not comfortable. It doesn't make sense. You asked for my hot takes earlier. This is my number one thing. I do not like going traditional. If we were allowed to, I would wear a rash guard like in jiu-jitsu and leggings for a tournament because I like being covered up. It's just more of a comfort thing because it prevents me from getting cold is the number one thing. But he wanted to almost make it a spectacle that you have to understand that it's sumo, and people don't understand if you're wearing shorts, which I personally didn't agree with.
Yeah.
That was up to him. So, and I wanted to compete in it because it was a very cool tournament, awesome tournament. I just don't like going traditional.
Yeah.
Because I know Cornelius also had a hand in the tournament as well, and he is very much a proponent of everyone going
Traditional style, yeah.
Like he even messaged me. He's like, "Why don't you go traditional?" I'm just like, "Cause it's not that I'm afraid of being naked in public or anything like that. It's just
You've been naked in public a lot.
I have been naked in public, but it's just like now that I'm not drunk all the time. Because when I was drunk, I didn't care. I was like, "Yeah, I'm naked." But like being all like not drunk, I'm like, who wants to look at the but I'm more self-conscious now that I'm like not drunk, but I go traditional whenever I'm working out at home.
From my understanding of it, it's a part of the tradition of sumo to not wear anything except for the mawashi, because it kind of follows along those same lines of logic of there's nowhere for me to hide a weapon. I am coming to you as an equal in the ring, and we respect each other as opponents. And, to show that respect, I'm going to literally just have this cloth wrapped around me and nothing else. If back when sumo was first formed, if they had their way, they would have made it naked.
Well, they did have it naked.
Actually, oh, sorry, I interrupted you saying the exact same thing I was going to say.
Wait, what? Was sumo originally naked?
Yeah, original sumo, like back when it was a Shinto ritual, was a completely naked. It was basically MMA.
Yeah.
But the rule was touch the ground. Like there wasn't a ring, and you could throw punches, kicks, knees, whatever. It was make your opponent hit the ground.
So it was like the old like Greek and Roman wrestling then.
Like pancration kind of.
Yeah.
Well, pancrase wasn't touch the ground. It was hit your hip, knee, or shoulder.
Okay, so it's kind of coming from that line of thought, though, where you have nothing but your body, your muscles that are going up against your opponent.
You're only bringing your body and your fighting spirit.
But of course, I don't think that, anyone who does want to wear shorts or like a rash guard or whatever, I have nothing against people who do want to do that. Everybody does it for a different reason. I'm just saying I kind of understand the logic of people who do say you should be going traditional.
Oh, yeah. So I want to be clear. I don't disagree with the traditional aspect of it. And I completely understand the tradition and the culture behind it. Mm-hmm. I just don't like it.
That's completely fine.
That's exactly like my stance too. And mainly it's like if there's going to be like someone's grandma or some little kids there, I don't want them to have to look at my, my fat rolls and like look at my butt.
Oh, I like looking at your fat rolls in your butt.
You're not a little kid or someone's grandma.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, the problem with the traditional, in my personal opinion, again, is it makes it very hard to bring new people into the sport. Because I remember,
you have a point,
before I started wrestling, I didn't even want to wear the singlet because it was too tight and too revealing, because I was very self-conscious at that time. Now I'll be hosting, I'll try to host a sumo demo, but it's like, I don't want people going traditional. I wear a rash guard and a shirt under my mawashi just because I want everyone to feel like it's very close. You just have the belt. That's the only difference between this. And so I think that it almost prevents people from joining the sport to not have, I don't like using the word modest, but modest clothing underneath. Mm-hmm. I personally don't mind going shirtless or even traditional. I just would prefer it if it was an option that you could be basically covered. Obviously, you don't want any weapons, but the tradition started as a way to show you didn't have weapons in an MMA type fight.
Yeah.
It's not that anymore. It's push out anymore and throw to the ground.
And I actually really agree with that viewpoint, because that's something that I've thought about before too. I think it's a good idea to have both, when you're doing demos out in public and whatnot, it is a good idea to have both the people who are doing the demo traditional and the people who are doing it with shorts on, or even with like rash guards and leggings and all of that stuff, just to show people in this culture, in the US culture, where body image is a huge issue, that it's okay. You don't have to wear nothing but the mawashi. If you're interested in this, do it, because you do have the option of covering up if you want to. Yeah. If that's what makes you feel comfortable. Basically, don't let this thing go by that you could actually have a lot of fun with just because you're afraid of people seeing your butt cheeks. You can cover them up. It's okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's your dog's name?
Suplex.
That is the
Dude,
best
that's the
fucking
greatest
dog name.
fucking name for a dog I have ever heard. That's the greatest name for any pet. And I had a cat named Dildo once.
Yeah,
My cat that I had before him, her name was Sumo. So I just like the prefix. I just like that. So
oh,
now I have Suplex.
hell yeah.
That's adorable.
Sumo and suplex. Yeah,
Yeah.
we just have Furiosa. That's like my mom's German Shepherd that I walk every day. And then there's Sindel, who is named after. Do you ever remember the Ewoks from
Yeah,
Star?
of course. Yeah.
Do you remember the old Ewok show from like way back with old Wilford Brimley? You know, diabetes.
No.
That's way. I was a little kid, and I'm like 40 now, but I think I might have been like 3 or 4 when that came out. But there was like this little girl with blonde curly hair, and she was like, "Oh," and they all crash landed on the Ewok planet. Her name was Sindel Tawani, and that's how my cat got her name.
Speaking of sumo, we probably get back on track here.
No, Suplex is the best dog name ever.
Thank you. I spent like way too long thinking of the name. Like I got him on like New Year's Eve a couple years ago, and I was just sitting there, just like because I had sumo already, so I was like, I need a wrestling related name. It was literally going down the move or different wrestling styles that have existed for hundreds of years, and originally I was going to name him Breach because Native American wrestling is called Breach wrestling.
Yeah.
And then I walk in and I'm like, yeah, mom, I'm going to name him Breach. And my mom's like, have you ever heard of a breech birth? And I'm like, no.
Oh.
And she's just like, yeah, you're not naming your dog Breach because of that. And I said, okay. So I had to like find another name. And then I was like, just it happened to pop up. Someone hit a suplex in a match, and I was just like, that's his name.
Yes.
It's like, and then I need to introduce you to my children. This is Uwatanage. This is Kubi Hineri. Oh God, it's
shit.
gonna be terrible. I'm totally gonna
And
get
little Oshidashi.
Don't even need a ring name. Just that's your name, buddy.
Yes. We've talked about how you've done all sorts of different styles of wrestling, and of course you do sumo as well. Would you say that the other styles of wrestling that you are so well versed in have made it easier for you to get like super good at sumo like everybody knows you are? Or does sumo really have some skills that you've been able to take to other styles of wrestling?
Yes to both. On the first point, are there other wrestling styles that have helped me with sumo? Of course. For proof that all you have to do is look at some of the top guys in the U.S. right now. Me, Angel, Andrew Roden, Justin Kizzer, JJ Jones. All of us are high-level wrestlers or jiu-jitsu guys that just it's what we've always done. So for that, I'd say absolutely. It teaches you a lot of the grappling, a lot of the controlling your opponent's weight, and all of that. As far as what I've taken from sumo to other sports, 100%. I don't get taken down like anywhere near as easily or as much as I used to, and I haven't been taken down in a straight just man-to-man standing thing in forever. If someone has to attack the leg with like a knee pick or something tricky to take me down anymore, just because of how much training I do for sumo. And kind of as an extension of that, when I do train my other wrestling styles, I train it in a way that helps me with sumo, where I don't touch my knee, I don't touch my hand when I'm attempting a takedown. I attempt to do snap downs, go behind, and stuff like that, where I don't hit the ground until after you do.
Nice. So like with freestyle wrestling, you know, that's just something kind of where you're used, or even like jujitsu, you're used to like a lot of groundwork. Like, do you kind of catch yourself having to like fight against muscle memory? Like if you're like today, you know, you did that jujitsu tournament, and like transitioning back to sumo, would you kind of feel like that need to like take it to the ground or anything like
An
that?
urge to do that you have to stop yourself from doing?
Yeah.
Not in the slightest.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah, well, I just because sumo is probably my best sport that I'm one of the better ones at. So it's almost like the reverse of that, where even though I train jujitsu for 4 to 6 days a week, yeah, I said that right.
Yeah.
Even though I train jujitsu, I almost have to almost start in a compromised position, because if I start standing, I have a hard time not going like straight suparis and stuff like that, where I just like to go for different moves and practice weird stuff, specifically because in sumo you're required to do just the straight pushing, and it doesn't make for a very exciting match unless it's only that 10-15 second match and you're expecting that. And then if it goes longer, it's like, wow, we're getting a treat, not, oh man, this match is taking forever, isn't it?
So like that tournament, I saw on your Instagram that clip that you had. It was you grappling a slightly smaller opponent, and
I outweighed him by about 150 pounds, but yeah, slightly smaller.
and about maybe a foot like in height. But he kind of like spider monkeyed you for a second, and like I noticed because I kind of saw like some sumo movements there for a second, and they were like, oh yeah, I could take us to the ground, and then just kind of flopped him down.
So actually, in this tournament, they had a rule where you could not slam your opponent. Mm-hmm. And I have a very bad habit of slamming my opponent. So when I got him into that position, and I was just like, I don't want to just drop him because they might count that as a slam and I might get disqualified. So I kind of paused, and that he was in that spider monkey position where he was already wrapped around my leg while he was in the air. And it's like, so I just kind of gingerly set him down. After the match, the guy was very, very kind. He walks up to me and he's like, hey, thank you so much for not smashing me. It's like, dude, I didn't want to hurt you.
The guy's face, the look on his face when you were on top of him on the ground. It was just the best shit.
That was
he was
great.
Like bemused while he's just like pinned underneath you.
And
like,
it was just
what
kind
the hell?
And then I saw the video ended, but I saw him like kind of tapping the ref's hand. Like, did he tap? Was that his tap out?
He had yelled tap out, but or not yelled, but the ref didn't really hear it, so he just kind of like was like, "Hey, tap." Because the submission I did was a straight arm lock, where you basically have an arm just kind of like straight out here, and imagine this is the elbow. You grab right here and you bend it over itself right at the elbow, so that you're trying to break it. It's one of my better submissions. I actually hit it at Jiu-Jitsu Worlds last year. I call it the Superman arm lock just because if you do it right, you're in like that Superman pose when you hit it. But that's not what it's actually called. So
I don't know. I have nicknames for different moves, you know. I mean, like, you know, you got like, you know, the Watanage, you know, we can just call it the super wedgie or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
No, it's funny because sometimes whenever I see people that, you know, are just starting sumo or might be like, you know, fresh new sumo clubs, sometimes you'll hear them trying to tell someone to do a move, but it's kind of like.
They don't know the terms yet.
So they make stuff up. Like, that's where I got the wedgie thing. He's like, wedgie throw. Come on, wedgie throw.
Well, I think that's better because like in every like jiu-jitsu gym or wrestling gym you go into, there's a different name for every move. Of course, there's the staples like single leg, double leg, this, that, or the other. Yeah. But if I wanted to go for a cow catcher or something weird like that, a lot of places in the Midwest will call it a cow catcher. But if you go out to New York, sometimes they don't. And it's like, what did you just call that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, that's kind of one of the weird things that, and also as far as sumo goes, I am the worst as far as any Kimarite. I don't know the names of any of them. So
I'm the same way. And honestly, I'm kind of starting to get to the point now where I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should just have our own terms for these so that we kind of know what we're talking about.
So we know what we're talking about between each other.
Exactly. Because you're not always going to remember, like, okay, what does okuridashi mean again?
Yeah, I'm not fluent in Japanese by any means at all.
Maybe one day, probably not.
Well, and they're not even real Japanese words is the other thing. They're kind of amalgamations to, and it's almost like sumo's its own language.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
So it's like, it wouldn't even matter if you were fluent in Japanese. It's like, here's the 80 terms you need to know.
Yeah, I was, you know Colton Runyon, right?
I haven't met him personally, but I know of him, yes.
Yeah. So, like, Colton Runyon was saying that sumo wrestlers just kind of have, like, their own, like, distinct dialect. And whenever he was in Japan studying that, people were telling him, oh, you're a sumo wrestler. He's like, how did you know that? And it's just because of the vocabulary you're using and the way that you're talking. So it's kind of like they do have their own specific language or a dialect or whatever. But I think the thing that kind of, like, really got me with that is, you know, they have their own honorific in Japanese instead of like someone being like Tera no Fuji. You wouldn't say Tera no Fuji-san. You would say Tera no Fuji Zeki.
There was a controversial little news story recently about that, actually.
Yeah, about like someone had mistakenly called, was it Endo or someone? They called a wrestler with the honorific san instead of Zeki, and everyone like that was in the peripheral kind of got like way upset about it.
Was it Endo? I thought it was like Takakeisho or I don't know. We'll look it up.
Yeah, we'll look it up. It was a Sekito territory level, you know. So
Yeah.
apparently you use the honorific san while they're up to Makushita, and then after Makushita you have to say Zeki or whatever.
Hmm.
I don't know. I just thought it was kind of weird that, you know, you have a move like the like kakanage, you know, where you like hook your leg, hooking inner thigh throw, you know,
Mhm.
and like, you know, something within the same culture and language, you know, they call it uchimata. So
Yeah, and that's what I call
In
that
in
throw
like
is
a different
Uchibata
sport.
because my
Yeah.
background was judo before sumo. So
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So I noticed that you, like whenever I've wrestled you or seen you wrestle, I noticed that you know you have like a whole lot of like brute strength, but against opponents that are you know nearing as strong as you. I noticed that's when your technique comes out, and it's just like flick of the wrist, flick of motion. It's just kind of like, what the hell did he just do? So do you kind of like have like your judo senses, kind of like when you execute throws or like techniques like that, or is it all just kind of just boiling up from sumo?
I credit it to freestyle, Greco, and beach wrestling because in all of those sports they have a push-out rule, just like sumo. It's not end of the match, but you lose that point, and sometimes that point's all you need. So ever since high school, I've been practicing right on the edge of the mat. You go for that twisting throw, or you go and you don't want to be the one that got pushed out. So it
Yeah.
was very, very easy for me to adapt that mentality to sumo, where it's like, yeah, I am getting pushed out by someone that outweighs me by 100 pounds, but I'm not trying to muscle you at this point. I'm trying to get to a position where I can initiate a throw or I can initiate a weird move that shouldn't work, but it does.
So beach wrestling, like how did you get involved in that? And like, is it kind of like a freestyle or Greco rules, or is it kind of have like its own quirks?
It's almost more similar to sumo than it is to freestyle and Greco. It's basically sumo, except for there's a continuation rule. So if we were wrestling and you shoot in on me and take me down, but you hit your knee on the way, you still get the points. But there is a push out, and it's first to three points.
Oh,
Um, and then there's an instant win where if you pick someone up and throw them on their back, instant win. But it's like if I were to, and also your hands can touch the other one. But if like say you start taking me down and I hit an elbow, then you get a point and we reset back in the center. So it's almost like sumo to three is the best way I can describe it.
oh wow, that's pretty cool.
That's
Yeah.
cool. We need to look into that. That
Yeah.
sounds pretty
How
awesome.
did you find beach wrestling anyway? I mean, did they have that in Colorado, or did you have to travel for it?
The same person that I was telling you about, my coach Gabe, he's won beach nationals like 4 or 5 times,
Oh,
and then
nice.
he went to worlds for it a couple times. So he got me into that, and I was going to go to that this year, but I just couldn't get out there, just travel costs, and
Yeah.
it's every year it's in North Carolina nationals are,
Oh hell yeah.
and we used to have one in Colorado that was just a kind of small local tournament, but we don't do it at a beach, obviously, because we're double landlocked. But we'll go to like a beach volleyball park or something like that, and just set up a couple rings there. And
Yeah, so it's kind of like Shiram, kind of, where they have like the sand pit that they wrestle in.
Yeah.
Or like what's that one African one?
Oh, lamb wrestling?
Lamb wrestling. Yeah. That's interesting. So that's loose sand. It's not like a dohyo where it's like packed clay. So I would imagine it would be more difficult to kind of like keep your balance and like grip with your feet.
100, you can't grip with your feet.
Yeah.
You have to
There's
move your
nothing to
feet
grip.
so much. You're almost pitter pattering just trying to get across. And when you're real heavy like I am, your foot sinks in. So if someone like gets a good knee tap on you, you can't lift your foot and step back. You're falling. So you have to figure out a way to wrestle with that mentality that your feet are either never secure or they are stuck. There isn't really an in between.
They're just treacherous.
Damn.
Yeah.
So how do you and it's not just, you know, like Greco-Roman freestyle, you know, just kind of the more like readily available wrestling sports that we have in the States, but you started getting involved in like all of these other kinds of like wild wrestling styles. So are there some that you really want to try that you haven't gotten to try yet?
If I haven't tried it, I want to. Is kind of how it goes. Like I've been trying to find a place that'll let me do Shiram. I really want to do that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Box looks like the most fun thing. I forget that African wrestling. I think you called it lamb wrestling.
Oh,
I want to
lamb
try
wrestling.
that.
Lamb, yeah.
Literally, if there is a style of wrestling, I will try to do it just because I want to give it a shot. Roy took Turkish oil wrestling. Next time I'm in Turkey, I really want to try to do that just because it looks like a great time. I kind of quickly like grappled with him while he had the oil on him, and you can't grab anything in that. So it's just like
Oh.
completely different style from anything I'm used to. There's a Mexican sport called lucha leonesa, which is basically belt wrestling, but it's with like this really thin leather strap. I want to try that. Basically, if there's a grappling sport I haven't done, my goal is to do it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Man, I bet if you just like went out to Senegal and like just found some like random dudes and were like, "Hey, will you do lamb wrestling with me?" They'd totally be down to do that shit. They
Yeah.
love that shit out there.
Yeah, I saw like a couple like kickboxers, MMA guys, go down to Senegal and train with those guys. And those dudes are fucking just beasts. They're like mammoth. So like my favorite lamb wrestler is Rugrug.
Rugrug.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now he does MMA. He does MMA by his real name, Omar Kane or Khan. I think they pronounce it Khan, but it's Omar Kane is how it's spelled. But he's about as tall as you, and he's just so wide. He's just like his muscles can just destroy civilizations. Like I don't know. But what's cool about lamb wrestling is like the nicknames that they all get. So there's like Mike Tyson, and then there's Bombardier, and then there's he's not the real Mike Tyson, But
Yeah,
But I
Yeah,
just love
obviously.
that. And so one of the weird things in lamb wrestling is that they have to see like a sorcerer called a marabou. And the marabou like provides you with these it's like a tincture or like a mixture, a potion, if you
It's a
will.
potion, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a magic potion.
And it's for luck, to ward off evil spirits, and then like whenever because lamb is a ceremony as well, so
It's very similar to sumo in that way. Yeah, there's a lot of spirituality like kind of built into it.
but they got synchronized dancing.
Oh yes, yes,
So,
that's
like,
a big part of Lamb
Yeah,
as well.
whenever the competitors are arriving, they have the little entourages, and there's traditional instruments and drumming and singing, and then they'll just like start doing their dances as they're making their entrance. Like I want to do that. Like, how come we can't, like, man, if I, like, when we go to the Houston Open, how come we can't have an entourage, synchronized dancing and shit? But,
All
I
right.
think we should have ring entering music in sumo. I want to make that clear.
Yes. They do that in Russia, actually.
yeah, we saw some, like, Russian,
Yeah.
it was an amateur tournament, like, seriously, straight up amateur sumo, but they had pyrotechnics, and they
Yeah.
had, like, a big screen showing, like, all these graphics of the competitors, just looking all cool with their little medals and shit. But I was like, I wish we could have the infrastructure to have something just that ridiculous and flamboyant in sumo. Like, I would be all about that. But
Yeah.
We did mention pro sumo earlier, much earlier. I kind of wanted to get back to that. Do you actually follow pro sumo? And if so, how close do you follow it? Who are your favorite rikishi? Tell me what you think.
My favorite Rikishi is Asashoryu, I think his name is. He's-
Asashoryu?
Yeah,
Ooh,
the guy.
you like those bad boys.
Oh,
It's okay.
I don't know
too.
I don't know anything about him personality wise. I just know that he's the only guy I've ever seen hit an arm spin in a sumo match, and that was the most beautiful technique I've ever seen. Behind that, it's Ura because he does weird stuff.
oh hell yeah!
I love
Beyond
Laura.
that, I can name maybe 5 sumo wrestlers. I don't follow any pro. It's just I'm training so much that I don't have time to watch other sports, and if I do, I'm trying to study film. Like something that I do a lot. I do a couple moves that were heavily inspired by Teruno Fuji, just because I watched a couple film of him, and he's another tall wrestler. So take his moves and study them. But my goal is not. I don't watch it as a fan. I watch it as a case study. If that makes any sense at all.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, that does make sense because, like, I know we do that a lot of the time too when we're watching like the boss shows. Is we'll kind of study if we see like somebody use a technique that looks, interesting or like useful, or take that and kind of like watch it a couple of times.
I was about to say I'll rewind it like 80
Yeah,
times.
no.
I'm like, how does he do that?
Definitely like rewind it 80 fucking times and then be like, okay, and then you do this, and then all right, I'm gonna try that at the next Keiko.
Yeah, and I watch a lot of film. I enjoy watching film and studying film. Like if someone hosts a practice that they live stream, I try to watch it just so I can study what they're doing and honestly be ready if they're going to come at me with any of that. But also from a perspective of what are these guys working that I should implement in my training too.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's the only sumo wrestler in Colorado. I don't have training practice very often. That's why I like coming to Dallas, because you guys have the practice the next day that I can come in and join, and you're very welcoming. Otherwise, I'm trying to implement different styles of sumo style wrestling when I'm wrestling with the kids that I coach when I'm doing jujitsu, where it's like I practice a different takedown, not because it's actually good for whatever sport I'm doing, but because it'll help me in sumo.
Nice.
So, have you ever thought of actually starting your own sumo club there in Colorado?
I have tried, and I've got a couple people that are interested, but they live like 60, 70 miles away up in Denver. And I almost wish that someone else would start the club because I don't like to organize practices and I don't want to have to organize getting in the gym, this, that, the other. If someone in Colorado were to set up a club and say, hey, we are having a practice, I will be there. It's just, I can't change up my schedule. I just, if we ask about my schedule, I'm gone for 12 to 15 hours every day. Just, I basically go to work, go practice, come home. I don't have time to set up a whole club and manage it in that meantime.
Yeah.
I would love to get more training partners and get people to start doing sumo. But it's just very difficult with my skill set.
Man,
Gotcha.
I feel that so hard because I've always wanted to go like when I get good enough to teach, I always wanted to go back home to the res and teach some of the young kids sumo because it helped me like with a whole lot of like whenever I quit drinking and partying and I was making that lifestyle change, it helped me feel like I had control over something. You have control over your body, you have control over something. And like, it gave me like a sense of agency that I definitely lacked when I was a kid. And I know a lot of kids back on the res kind of, they don't really feel like they're in control of some aspects of their lives. And this might help them kind of get like the confidence, the discipline and the stuff that I got out of it. So I really wanted to be able to, spread it back around, but I'm in the same freaking boat where I work all the freaking time and like I'm doing my own training and then like, I do the podcast and outside of that.
Barely have enough time to do the podcast, especially right now.
Yeah, it's our busy season, but man, it's like, I feel that so hard. I really wish that, I had the resources to really put into, fostering more like youth sumo, because I think that would be really, really freaking cool to like have these, kids and then, you train them up for a few years. And once they get old enough, to be all badass, they would have like, just years upon years of experience and technique to pull from. And that would be fucking cool to see. I would just really like to see some young kids that I trained. It's like, I trained that kid. You see that kid? He just slapped that other dude's fat. I taught him that. So like, that's my dream,
Yeah, and honestly, coaching high school wrestling like I'm doing now, it's one of the most rewarding things seeing the kid that do a move that you taught them during a match, and it's like, I taught him that.
But you said if somebody else does start a sumo club in Colorado, you'd show up, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, you heard it, Colorado. Get on that shit.
Yeah, especially even if it was in Denver or something, even though that's like 60, 70 miles away, it's only an hour drive, and I would kill for the sumo practice to only be an hour drive away. As far as I can tell, you guys are the closest sumo club to me, and that's a 10.5 hour drive.
Wow.
Sometimes I can get out and train with Robert and Brandon out in Kansas City, which is only an 8 hour drive.
Oh, that reminds me. I did see a picture. It was like you, Robert, Brandon, and then I think, oh God, who else was in that picture? But you guys were all traditional. Was that like at the like a camp or something that y'all?
That was at my parents' house in Colorado. Leading up to Worlds, Cornelius, Robert, and Andrew Roden wanted to get some training in altitude because I live at 8,000 feet. That's why my conditioning is pretty good when I come down to these other tournaments. They wanted to get some training in here. Brandon and Robert road tripped out here with Cornelius from Kansas City because it's a lot cheaper to get to Kansas than it is to get to Colorado. So they all came out here. Andrew Roden was living up here with one of his buddies, getting ready for Worlds, trying to get altitude training in. So I took a wrestling mat that I got from basically trimmings of other wrestling mats, set it up in my parents' garage, which is out in the forest, and it's detached. And basically, we just had 3 or 4 days of solid practices going on, and it was pretty much just us guys that were trying to get them ready for Worlds, and it was a great time. But yeah, that's out in the middle of the woods out here, so it's just kind of very difficult to get to.
Yeah. So with Andrew Roden, because I know you had that little training camp, or if you wanted to call it that, at your folks' house, and then competing with him at the Mr. America or Sumo Dan's All-American Sumo Classic. I have to get it right. But
I'm calling it the Mr. America. I think it sounds cooler. But
yeah. So how is like Andrew Roden is another like actual like does he do Greco-Roman or freestyle or both or
He did in high school and college, yes.
got you. So what was it like fighting him? Can you feel like a lot of those kind of like old moves like in a sumo?
Fighting Andrew is very interesting because he knows what I'm going to be going for because he knows that I wrestle sumo like a wrestler, and so does he. A lot of times it's very difficult to get either one of us off balance. You almost have to overpower us and push us out if we're gonna lose. So wrestling him, it's almost like a mirror match. Just I outweigh him by 60 pounds. So anytime I try to go for like a back step or anything like that, he knows it's coming and he's able to adjust his body weight accordingly. Where some of the guys that are newer to grappling and sumo's their first and only grappling sport, they're not as used to dealing with the change in pressure, the move, the kind of quick switch that he is from years of high school and college wrestling.
Nice. So is it more like a high speed chess match?
Our match lasted about a minute and a half at the Mr. America.
That's long for sumo.
That was very long. It actually went to a mono-e. We hit the ground at the same time, and they called him the winner, which happens. But he walks up to me and he's like, "That's one of the hardest matches I've ever had in sumo." And I was like, "I'm inclined to agree, bro. It was tough."
That's awesome though. I've wanted to fight him ever since I've seen. I think it was Nationals. Was it 2021 Nationals? The one in Vegas.
That was North Americans.
Okay. But yeah, once I saw him at that, I was just like, oh, dude, that guy's brutal. And then I saw something. It was like on the local Alabama news station about him. And I was like, oh shit, So I was just been kind of curious about like kind of how he does things. And I've seen like other guys that have done, for lack of a better word, I would say scholastic wrestling, college wrestling, freestyle. That group of God damn it, I just
category.
Lost
That
Thank you. But there's like Jordan Karst. Like he's kind of brand new to sumo, but like very experienced. In like wrestling.
College wrestling coach. Like he's phenomenal. I've gotten to play around with him a couple times. He's a good wrestler. So yeah,
that's what I was about to ask. So like,
real quick. Yeah. You were talking about Andrew's interview on that news station. Here's why I'm mad at Andrew. He came up here before Worlds. He trained here for 3 months, and he got an interview with a news station that didn't give me an interview after I won nationals.
What? Oh, that's bullshit.
So he and I have joked about that plenty of times, but it's just like I'm still mad about that.
Damn you, Andrew.
He's like, I work at a repair shop.
You got to be on Sumo Punx before him.
I did. Thank you. It's actually kind of funny. Like I work at a repair shop, so I've got a lot of connections. Like just because everyone needs their car fixed at the end of the day, and so like I had two guys. I had the guy that writes the sports section for our local newspaper, and the day that I won nationals, he wrote a article about one of my high school teammates transferring schools for football, and I was just so pissed off about that. Not actually bad, but I just think it's hilarious because it's like he transferred from one JUCO to a different JUCO, and then it's like I won a national championship.
I know what the
hell.
Whenever I was bringing up Jordan Karst because he's a guy that's like a smaller stature, but still like extremely skilled. So has there ever been like anybody in sumo that you fought that was like maybe a smaller stature, but like their technique like made them like really hard to beat?
Edabar Konyeha.
Yes, I'm telling you.
That's all I need to say. That guy is phenomenally skilled. The kid's only like 20 years old. He has a goal of going to pro sumo, and I think he can do it.
I think he could too.
That is the only answer I've ever given to that question that I'm just like instantly yes. So okay. I know that's not really an exciting like lead up, but
no. That's just cutting out all the bullshit. That's a solid answer.
That guy's like scary good, really
scary.
I think he can make it all the way to pro.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But
I hung out with him after the Cowboy Cup, and we were actually rooming together at the Cowboy Cup. Nicest kid on the planet, and he's kind of shy, but phenomenal in sumo. Like just gets it, and he has a very good initial hit. That's probably the thing that he needs to work on the most to make it pro. But he's a tricky kid, and he's just good. So
yeah, it was funny seeing him get a little bit socially lubricated, there
at the sake bar. Yeah. He's
Poor
such
guy.
a sweet boy, and he has such a fantastic mustache.
He really does have a fantastic mustache. I'm jealous of his stash.
But besides Edomar, anybody else who's kind of trickier to go up against, especially the more lightweight guys?
My biggest problem over the last ever since I really started sumo, and he's one of my better friends in the sport, is Cornelius Booker. Cornelius and I are like 2-2, but I will argue that to my grave. Because I have one of the first times I faced him, or second time I faced him, was in Texas at the Consulates Cup, the first one, and I initiated the throw, and his foot hit out, but I still got called the loser because of the dead body rule. And you were asking about hot takes.
Yes.
This is my biggest take. Dead body rule is bullshit.
You know what I was about to say is like it almost seems like even in the pros they just pull it out of their ass
It's
for
just
like an agenda.
randomly applied.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Randomly applied. Like, what are the rules for the dead body rule?
The
Apparently-
only time, in my opinion, that the dead body rule should be applied, and it's not how it is there, is if you are doing a frontal crush out and you touch the ground to make sure that you don't hurt yourself and them. That's
Yeah.
the only time it should count. If I'm in the middle of a throw and I happen to be like past the 45 and you hit the ground, I shouldn't be called the dead body. But sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. I don't understand that rule.
Yeah, it's well, what they say is you have to be in an unrecoverable position, and then the person that touched first has to do so out of safety. Is what I heard it like broken down as, you know.
But they don't even follow that.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. They don't even follow that in the pros. Like, I have watched a pro sumo tournament where one match a guy got the win, and it was because the dead body rule applied, and like literally 2 matches later it was the exact same type of
Situation.
scenario, and the guy who had been in like the position that the other guy had been in who got the win didn't fucking get it. He lost. And it just seems like it's favoritism or something to me. I don't want to put it up to that, but what else could it be, you know?
Yeah, and what is an unrecoverable position compared to an initiating a throw?
Exactly. It's just so arbitrary, and it's so subjective, you know, that it's not like an overarching kind of like, you know, rule. It just almost seems to just kind of be played, you know, played as a hand, you know. I don't know. I've seen like amateur tournaments and in the pros where it's just kind of like arbitrary. I remember Mr. John Jacks, you know, posted something on Facebook that was, who do you think the winner of this match is? And it was Trent Sabo and I think it was Joe Ponsetto. But like it just sparked like a huge debate of people. It's like, well, no, because the dead body. Oh, no, that's bullshit. And then, you know, just going lots of back and forth. But man,
I think it causes a lot of undue controversy in matches where it shouldn't exist.
I've even heard people say before that the dead body rule isn't used in amateur sumo, or it doesn't apply or something, which is obviously false. But
Yeah.
people have said that to me before.
Because I've won matches on the dead body rule and I've lost matches on the dead body rule. If you're in the sport for long enough, you're going to. I just don't understand the rule because there isn't a clearly defined set when that rule applies.
Exactly. So people's biases can sneak in, and I mean, it's not fair at that point.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, being the larger wrestler, in my opinion, I could be wrong. I'm not wrong. Being the larger wrestler, you're going to generally give it to the smaller wrestler. It's just humans want to believe in the underdog there. So if someone is outweighed by 100 pounds, even if someone initiated a throw and you landed it, I just don't agree with that ruling that the dead body rule sometimes applies, sometimes it doesn't. And there have been times where I've been crushing someone out and stopped myself. And it's like, should the dead body rule apply to me there? And it's like, well, I won the match, so of course. But
you could hurt somebody doing something like that too. So it's not just like, you know, you're catching yourself at the end of the fall. It's like you're not crushing this guy's ribs or some shit, you know?
Yeah. So in my opinion, the only time that the dead body rule should be taken into effect, specifically in amateur sumo, because we are not on a raised platform, is during a frontal crush out. Otherwise, it's your job as the wrestler to maintain your position of making sure your feet don't hit outside of the ring past the point of no return.
Yeah. And I don't know, man. It just seems like it's built in as supposed like for safety reasons. It seems like to be the motivation behind it, but I mean, it doesn't really quite get used that way, I guess. I don't know. I mean, like, because I mean, you want to, if when you're doing sumo, you want to hurt someone within the realm of winning the match, but you don't want to like break their arm or anything like that. You know?
And especially in amateur sumo in the US, none of us are getting paid for this shit.
I know, right?
And I mean, like, is there money in it? No. So of course no one's getting paid for it, but the least you can get to a tournament that's not in your hometown is what, $300-400 for the cheapest if you fly Spirit and happen to get a good deal. And then you've got to get a hotel, and most of us split 5 or 6 people to a hotel. Like, it's not as simple as people like to make it out to be.
Yeah, it's very American amateur sumo is very DIY, you know, and everybody has to kind of band together, pull their resources, and make shit happen.
It's like the American punk scene. Thus this podcast.
But unfortunately, I'm not as involved in the American punk scene. I am pretty involved in the sumo scene, though.
It's okay. Next time you come to Texas, we'll take you to Denton and we'll show you what it's all about.
So the biggest punk bar in town is like a mile that way, and I just have never been there. Like, they have good punk concerts every couple weekends, and it's just like, no.
Are you in the Springs, or are you in Boulder?
Yeah, Colorado Springs.
Oh, hell yeah.
Nice.
My brother used to live in Pueblo, like back in the day, and he used to take a lot of jobs out in the Springs. And that's what he refers to it as, the Springs.
Maybe we should come out to Colorado and we could go hang out at the punk bar down the street from you.
Yeah.
More than welcome anytime. I basically grew up in Pueblo, so I'm pretty familiar with that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Nice.
But if we do, we need to like have some bouts.
Yeah.
We can definitely get some bouts. I can unroll the wrestling mat and definitely have a good time. Only thing is, it's very dangerous because it's on a concrete floor and it is exactly the size of a ring.
Oh, shit.
It is 14 feet to the dot.
We're nearing the end of the episode. So, but before we get to the end, I want to know any other sumo hot takes, any other
unpopular opinion
controversial. It's time to get canceled.
Well, is
Kyle.
there anything that you guys think that I'm going to think that I'm just like missing out? Because I'll talk shit about anyone.
Okay.
No, it's all love at the end of the day. I just I'm bullshitting, so.
No, I feel you. I was about to say, like, okay, Hakuho. How do you feel about Hakuho?
How do you feel about
He's the greatest of all time. There's no argument on Hakuho.
Yes, thank you. Okay, how do you feel about the Hinka?
I think it's a perfectly valid move, and you should be ready for it.
Thank you. Thank you.
In the U.S. amateur scene, Jose Galindo will hit it probably 1 in 10 times, and you need to be ready for it. Otherwise, you're screwed. Andrew Roden's hit it on me in practice. It's hard to get ready for. And honestly, I think that it makes a more exciting match, not trying to pretend that it's this honor thing of you've got to clash with your opponent. No, it's a wrestling match. You need to wrestle.
Yeah.
So if I'm wrestling, say you, Matt, and you hop out of my way and I just happen to fly by you, well, you did the right thing. I did the wrong thing by not being ready to attack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you. I feel so validated right now. I can't even thank you enough. It's just, oh my God.
Let's be clear to all the listeners. I have the unpopular opinion here.
Most people do not think this way.
All right. So how do you feel about the Nodowa and like face hits? Like if someone's, doing pushing, thrusting, the harite, the slaps.
My lack of sumo knowledge is going to show up here. What is a Nodowa?
It's the
when you push on someone's throat. Like,
yeah.
You fucking Dallas guys do that so much. I have this picture saved of me and Corey Morrison going, and Corey's half my size, and he is fully extended like that. And I've said it to him. I think it's hilarious because he's just like, boom, like he is standing straight up, fully like this, and I'm standing like with my face back like that. It is a part of the sport. I fully respect it. I don't have a problem with it. I just don't train it. And so when all the Dallas guys, you guys are the only ones that really seem to train it in the US because it's one of those things that's very technical, because if that's an illegal hit, but that's completely legal. So you need to be ready. Yeah. I forget that this isn't going on video, so no one can see me going like, yeah.
No, I know. Yeah. We're going to say gesturing wildly in the air,
Yeah. So, but I think it's a perfectly legitimate part of the sport. I personally don't train very much for it. I do train to try to avoid it and block it sometimes. However, it's not my responsibility as an athlete. It's within the realm of the sport. It's not my responsibility to say, "Oh, that shouldn't be here." It should be here. It's part of the sport.
Exactly.
It's well within the rules, and it's can sometimes it feel like a dick move, of course, but you can make anything feel like a dick move.
True.
If I do a weird overarm throw that tears out someone's shoulder, then that's the dick move of the day, even if that guy's superred me 10 times, right?
True.
Yeah.
True.
You're not doing it out of malice. You're doing it because you want to win.
I do it out of malice, but
Oh, okay.
So, like, I know a few people that, like myself had been included for a while, were just not ready for face hits, not expecting face hits and slaps and harite. Harite is like just a full-on slap, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a guy, I think he's in Vegas, named Sean Jackson. And I think he might be about your height, and he's like super muscly, but that's his bag. He's like all about those harite slaps and you know, just crazy supari like that. So if you get hit in the face, like, because I know I do, if I get hit in the face, it just makes me mad and unreasonable, and all of my technique flies out of the window, and I just feel like I need to rage out. Do you have like a means of like just staying in control and staying calm if you get like hit in the face?
I train MMA, so
Oh well, shit.
Yeah, do you get hit? Do you break your nose? Yeah, all the time. But honestly, I'd rather get slapped across the face as hard as someone can do it than someone poking my eye.
True.
And with Sean, I've never gotten the opportunity to wrestle him. He's been supposed to show up to like 3 tournaments, but hasn't. But I guess he's missed them, just like flights or something. I would love to wrestle him just because he has a very interesting style that I haven't faced in the U.S. yet. The thing that you see with a lot of people having a problem with the way that he wrestles is that he does do those outside the shoulder slaps, which are illegal in amateur sumo. In amateur sumo, all slaps have to come from within the shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of just like rule books. I like reading them. I know that's super weird, but
No.
Having the weird like technical knowledge of technically that's a thing is one of my favorite things to like have. So that's what a lot of people's problem with it is. I personally don't care. I would love to get the opportunity to wrestle him sometime, but I do see why some people have an issue with that.
Yeah. And for me, I wasn't quite really ready for slaps to the face until we just had a Keiko once where Dakota, he's one of the guys of smaller stature.
He's like the lightest lightweight in Dallas Sumo Club.
And he has done boxing, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, they were encouraging, yeah, you done boxing, you know, go ahead and just break out some supari. And then he did, like on Jared's face. And Jared's face, he was just like surprised. And then he was kind of mad, but then kind of bemused. And then he was like, okay, I got to do something about that. And those expressions were all within the span of like 2 seconds, you know? Yeah. But it was just him just slapping the shit out of him, and then I was like, man, I gotta get ready for face hits. And then I heard about Sean Jackson, you know, slapping people, and before I get into bouts, you know, I always try to like slap my body to just kind of wake up my nerve cells. But then I started slapping myself in the face. I'm like, oh, that doesn't feel good. But it kind of makes me feel like I'm prepared that if I slap the shit out of myself in my own face, and if someone else slaps me, it's not gonna be as surprising or hurt as much. But
well, if you go back and watch the film of any tournament I've done in the last 2 years, you will see me slap myself so hard across the face that my neck snaps. If you watch any of my matches for the last 2 years, you'll see that happen. And I have the exact same thing. It almost gets me in the zone. It almost helps focus me. Yeah. But yeah, no, Dakota and I are actually pretty good friends. We met at the Roller Town thing, and he's actually on my best friends list on Snapchat right now.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, he's a good kid. Like I really like
really is. I love that guy. But I really I don't know. It's just, is there a specific thing you do to train just getting hit in the face, or do you just have to get hit in the face?
Just start hitting yourself in the face. You'll get used to it.
Partially that, yes. Number 2, though, the thing that actually really helps you is doing exercises for your neck. Every day I do a neck exercise where basically I lay flat on the ground. You have to keep your eyes open because that helps keep you focused and it helps keep the blood where it needs to be. Where you do this 15 times, this 15 times, this 15 times, and then you roll it out and you do that for 5 minutes.
And you do that flat on your back?
Yeah, you do it flat on your back, staring at the ceiling. It really helps you. It's just an old boxing trick that you just really strengthens the muscle in your neck so that when you do take that hard hit, rather than your head just basically bobbing on
Yeah.
stick, your neck absorbs that muscle, and you can just absorb it and be ready to come back at it.
See, that's kind of like one of my, God, I probably shouldn't be airing my fears on something a lot of people are going to be listening to, but whenever you see people get hit in the chin, but they get hit in the chin just right to where it jostles their brain and they're just out.
You're just paranoid because we were watching those fucking slapping competitions or whatever the fuck
Not
they
just
are.
the slapping competitions, but there was a sumo match too. I can't remember who it was. It was like, I think it was like
where someone got knocked out because he got
all
slapped.
it was just like right at the tachi, just a mean slap, and the guy just like wobbled and then just fell. I was like, damn. But
yeah, there's like a button somewhere around
some
here
kind of
where if you
chin
hit it
angle.
hard enough.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm afraid of, is like, getting slapped in the chin hard enough to where, but neck exercise, that's a damn good idea. I mean, I've been doing them a little bit, but I probably should ramp up on it. And I want to get those, those big, what are those called? Trapezius muscles too.
Yeah, traps are a big part of your muscles in your neck. But if you look like straight on my neck is wider than my ears, and that's because I trained so much for my neck just to be able to absorb a hit. Now, don't get me wrong; it does not look pretty, but because of that, my neck is almost a utility that I'm able to use. And when I do take a shitty dive and you just spike your head on the mat, I get up fine. But if you don't train it, you can snap your neck pretty easily. It's one of those things like we saw that in Pro Sumo, 2 years ago now, where the guy died on the mat. That was, of course, a freak accident, and there were a lot of things that could have been done to save that guy's life. And no matter what, you've got 350 pounds snapping you like that. It hurts, and you're going to break something. But training that neck really helps make it a safer way to compete rather than trying to sit there and just you can easily break your neck with a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. So you have to take the advice of the Wu-Tang Clan and protect
your neck.
So I know you do like to travel around a lot to do different tournaments and stuff. Are you going to the Swiss Sumo Open?
Not the Swiss Sumo Open. It's a money thing. I would love to go. But,
I wasn't sure if I had heard you were going or not, so I thought I'd ask. But you're going to be in Houston, right?
I am going to be in Houston because Houston and Springs, you can get a direct flight for like $100. So I don't mind.
Nice.
That's why I come to so many Texas tournaments, is because it's so quick and easy for me to get there.
Holy
But Switzerland, I looked at the plane tickets. It's about $1,400. No.
That's a month rent per person, shit.
That's literally how much our rent is, yeah.
Like the World Nomad games that I just went to in Turkey, those plane tickets were paid for by the Turkish government. That's the only reason I could afford to go there.
That's badass.
And I try to pursue sponsors and stuff like that. So shout out to Elite Auto Service, my main sponsor that helps me get to all these tournaments. But sorry, need to drop it.
No, it's time to plug Elite Auto Services.
Woo!
Yeah. It's the repair shop. My dad owns it, so
I kind of figured, yeah.
He really helps me out, getting me the time off and helping me find something work related to do so I can call it a work trip, and it helps as far as some of the fees on there. And of course, we're still losing money, but it really allows me to go to all these tournaments. Is my big thank you to that.
Hell yeah. Hey, if there's any corporate dudes listening to this, invest money in amateur sumo.
Yeah, and amateur sumo podcasts.
All right, but yeah, I guess we will go ahead and wrap it up. So, Kyle, you got any shout outs? You got any social media? Anything you want to plug?
Just basically follow me on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Everything is at Sumo Nomad. I've got shirts on Amazon for sale if you would buy those, but
I'm getting one of those.
Hell yeah.
I would appreciate it. Other than that, if anyone's in the Colorado area and you want to learn more about sumo, my name is Kyle Ferriter. Hit me up on Facebook. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it and hopefully get something set up.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. And you guys know who we are. We're Sumo Punx everywhere except for Twitter. There were Punx Sumo because I fucked up the Twitter.
And Punx with an X for extra sex.
Yes. Also, we have t-shirts on the Redbubble shop. We're not going to talk about how we've said that we were going to get new designs up every episode for the past 5 episodes. Not this time, anyway.
I seen them.
But yeah, those are still on the way. And besides that, I think we've covered everything.
Yeah.
All
but
right.
I will see you in Houston, 3 weeks?
What is that? Yeah. 3 weeks from now.
Hell yeah.
I'll be there. It'll be good to see everyone again. I love going to Texas.
Fuck yeah, we love having
Except for it's Houston, man. Come on.
had such a great time with you today. Thank you so much for joining us. And
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
yeah,
Dog.
safe travels. Bye.